Hello, my name is Michael Perez, and welcome back to another entry in my devlog series. Jumping right into it, the first thing I did this week was add respawning into the game. Playtesting didn't feel right when the only thing that happened upon a player's death was that the map would restart. This was alright for quickly assessing basic movement and weapon mechanics, but it was not suitable for prolonged gameplay testing. I gave the corpses that get left behind somewhat unusual behavior. They maintain their physicality and can be pushed around by other players as long as they're still moving around, but the moment the magnitude of their velocity is zero, they become intangible. This way, player deaths provide a small amount of detail within a match in that you can visibly see how much carnage has occurred as the match goes on, without affecting performance or interfering with gameplay too much. Then, I spent some time refactoring how the player object was structured in Unity, as well as how melee objects were structured. I provided the scimitar with a better swing animation, and made it so that melee weapons could either have auto swings or manual swings. I then spent way too long trying to think about how to make the game fun. I'm probably just going to play some arbitrary B-roll footage in the background while talking about this, as this is what the relevant footage of me trying to figure out what to do looks like. Being a top-down shooter where everyone can see everyone else, it felt like that provided the players too much control and too much intel to make for interesting gameplay. The choices a player could make at any given moment were limited and uninteresting. They would either be attacking another player, moving to attack another player, or moving to pick up another weapon. I was hoping that introducing the flag mechanic would help address this, as I thought an alternative objective to deathmatching each other would make for more choices a player could make, but my gut was telling me that this wouldn't be the case. I didn't flesh out the flag mechanic because I figured it would only be a band-aid for a fundamentally not fun game. I sought out advice for how I could go about progressing on the game in a meaningful way, rather than throwing stuff at a wall and seeing what sticks. The first place I asked around was at a local game dev meetup I went to on Thursday. They agreed with all of the aforementioned points on why the game isn't fun right now, and also suggested that an alternative objective to DMing each other was necessary to prevent a stale gameplay loop. After that, I then received the advice from a buddy of mine that game feel is just as important for a game being fun as the fundamental mechanics of a game is. Up until then, polishing what I had never once crossed my mind. I always figured that I shouldn't start adding in details until the game felt fun to play at its most fundamentally raw, undetailed level. He argued that it would very much be worth the time to add game feel details, such as more impact to the weapons, sound effects, and camera shake, because all of that contributes to how much enjoyment a user gets from the product. He also suggested that the flag mechanic was a split focus, and that I should focus entirely on getting the core gameplay of players DMing each other feeling good. Lastly, he said that the player's health should be much lower, as fast and furious encounters would probably make for much more exciting gameplay. So, I took his advice and did all of that. First things first, I scrapped the flag mechanic. Then, I implemented motion blur, as I was very confident that Unity probably had some one-click solution to getting that into the game. I then tweaked the damage force, and recoil values of all the weapons to make them feel much more powerful. And then, the camera shake. It's such a stereotype when it comes to indie game makers, but I really do feel like it makes a difference, especially when used in junction with the motion blur. I'm also proud of the way that I implemented it. Rather than a static amount of camera shake that occurs over a set period of time, the camera has a shake value which any game object in the game can increase for any reason. This shake value decreases on its own constantly, which automatically provides a smooth transition from heavy camera shake to none. It also degrades tremendously faster the higher the shake value is, allowing me to generate some bombastic amounts of screen shake without the game being completely intolerable for a small amount of time. Lastly, I added in some arbitrary sound effects that I found online. I didn't put too much effort into this, I just wanted to get them in the game. My plans for this upcoming week are to flesh out the match aspects of the game. For now, I'm going to keep it simple. Random weapon spawns in the map, score counters, and a match timer. When the match timer ends, the player with the highest score wins. Then, I want to work more on the polishing details. It's kind of a dangerous rabbit hole to go down. Doing those little details was fast and furious to develop, and visually seeing seemingly grand changes being made to the game was really satisfying to me. I am aware that it's kind of an excuse for ignoring more pertinent features, like better maps and a match settings screen, so I'm not going to do too much polishing stuff. The extent of what I want to do will be as follows. Audio-visual feedback from hitting someone, particles and debris that spawns from things like bullet impacts, players taking damage or death, melee swing sounds, and a subtle pause when someone takes damage. After I get all of that in, I'm not really sure what'll be next on the to-do list. I'll probably figure that out once I get there, and I believe playtesting with another person will help out a lot once all of that stuff is in. That's all I had to say about the game this week. Progress was lighter than I was hoping it would be, but the upcoming week looks promising. My schedule is relatively empty, and I won't spend nearly as much time staring blankly at my screen trying to figure out how to progress on the project. I'll be back next Saturday for the next entry. Thanks for watching, and if you're coming back next week, I'll see you then.